is just a quick little lesson. Two things about watercolors if you have them in a set or a pan set like this that you purchase anywhere. Some of you may have a Crayola version of this. The brand of this doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you how to clean this color. What you do is you keep using water with your brush, dabbing it in water. You can use paper if you want, but there's no, I mean, do you see how I can? Do you see how this is clean now? So that's cleaning watercolors. All you need is clean water and a brush. And honestly, if your set comes with this tiny brush, I really want to encourage you to throw that away or use it for something else. Don't use it for these. Please use bigger brushes. The most limiting thing about watercolors is the brush that it comes with. So please get bigger brushes. The bigger, remember the bigger the better too. Always start with a bigger brush. We always want to start with a smaller brush, but start with a bigger brush. When I say bigger, I mean this size. Okay, another thing that's difficult for friends and for anyone is to have a more saturated. We love acrylic paints, we love craft paints, we love tempera paints because of the density and the rich color that they get. And there is an effect of having, you know, one of the beauties of watercolors is the subtleness, the subtleness of it. But a lot of friends want a more saturated look. So, sorry if there's a shadow there. Okay. So what you want is you want your brush to be completely damp, but then you really do want the drips off. So you want to remove the drips, and then do you see there's hardly any water puddling? And then you really just want to get in there and get the pigment on your brush. And see, that still is not the look I'm going for. So let me try it again. I mean, that's better, but you know, another way to do it is to wait for this layer to dry and add another layer on top. That makes very interesting. It gives it a lot of depth and texture, and it just makes it so interesting. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. I think my brush just needs to be even more dry than it was. In fact, I'm going to take this smaller one and do a little bit of water. So I didn't completely wet the brush. Do you see the difference there? And some friends really like this look best. And when we're thinking about some of the works that we're doing over winter break, if you only have access to watercolors, this might be the look you're going for. So you want your brush to be dry. And what I did, I'll try it with a brand new brush. I only made half of my brush wet. This half is wet, this half is dry. I love this color, ochre. Okay, you see, it's still so much more, there's so much more of a saturation than that. Again, well, just for fun, we'll do the wet on wet method. This is still wet because there's a lot more water in this than there is. This is when I used a large brush and I made it completely wet. I'll just do the wet on wet method right here. So I have a completely wet brush now, and I'm putting it in this red. because this is still wet, I add another layer on top. Friends love this method too, the wet on wet method. This one, the wet on wet method won't work with this. It's too much of it, it's a dry application, but there's the wet on wet method. Two different approaches. I'll just show you what dry layers on this look like. I'll need to get a dry brush. I know that I have a small one somewhere. So, and I don't mean completely dry, I just mean half water. And I'm not going to choose this red one because it has a puddle of water in it right now. And I could remove that with another brush, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to show you. So you can see the difference between the wet on wet method and then applying a somewhat dry watercolor on top of a dry watercolor.